Committee on Parole is called back to order. Our next case is going to be Mr. Charles O. Burns. Mr. Burns, if you would please introduce yourself and give us your DOC number.
Mr. Marabella, we actually have Burnell Coleman.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we can take him.
Hey, Warden, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Coleman. Good afternoon, Mr. Coleman. Mr. Lancaster, how are you? Our next case is Mr. Burnell Coleman. Mr. Coleman, would you give us your full name and DOC number?
Burnell Coleman, 99553.
Mr. You have a sheet on Mr. Coleman? This is the matter of Burnell Coleman, DOC number 99553. Mr. Coleman's date of birth is April the 15th of 1958. Coleman is a third-class felony offender. He has an adjusted good time date of December the 17th of 2025, a full term date of April the 16th of 2026, and he's serving a 40-year sentence on the charge of purse snatching, having been adjudicated a habitual offender. Is that information correct, Mr. Coleman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Coleman, I want to explain our procedure to you. You have several people who are speaking here in support. Mr. Kerry Myers is here with the Louisiana Parole Project. Bob Lancaster is here as your attorney. Simon McRae is here as a law student attorney as well with Mr. Lancaster. You also have two other persons who are here in person, Jackson Andrus and Ben McArthur. Your case has been assigned to me, so I will begin our discussion. Mr. Coleman, how old are you, sir?
64.
Mr. Coleman, how long have you been in prison on these charges?
38 years, sir.
Mr. Coleman, tell me a little bit about what was going on 38 years ago. How old were you when you came to prison this time?
I think I was in my late 30s.
All right. Tell me what was happening with Burnell Coleman. What were you doing? Did you have a job?
No, sir. I was in the streets, trying to survive, trying to support family and friends. Every job I tried to get, once they found out I was a convicted felony, they let me off the job.
Were drugs and alcohol an issue with you?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. How old were you when you first started doing drugs?
15.
What did you start using?
Marijuana.
Progress from there?
Yes, sir. Pills.
Cocaine?
No, sir. Just marijuana, pills, and I did a little heroin.
Okay. And how often were you doing it?
Just about every other day or every day.
And for how long?
For quite some years.
Now, you pled guilty in 1980 to an attempted armed robbery. Were you doing drugs back then?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had any sort of drug treatment on the outside?
No, sir.
How about alcohol? Did you drink alcohol as well?
No, not really, sir.
Mainly drugs.
Yes, sir.
How much education did you have? Did you finish high school?
Yes, sir. I was
You did
pushed,
finish?
I was pushed through high school because at that time was my gifted for playing sports.
Okay. So you were an athlete, you were in high school.
Yes, sir.
And did you graduate high school?
Yes, sir.
So tell me about this purse snatching. Tell me what happened.
Well, me and some friends were riding around and we seen this lady walking the street with a briefcase and a big purse and jumped out the car and grabbed the purse.
Okay, now, I've read the police reports, I've looked at the file. This lady was beaten as well. So tell me exactly what you did.
Well, I grabbed the purse, she fell on the ground, and I snatched the purse from her. And she was dragged a minute because she wouldn't turn, it was the purse.
She resisted you, and the report suggests that you kicked her, you punched her. Is that all true?
Yes, sir.
Were you on drugs at that time?
Yes, sir.
Been using drugs that day?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about when you came to prison 38 years ago. How have you changed since then? Tell me what, if anything, that you've done while you've been in prison has impressed you and allowed you to change. I see your shirt. I am changed. Tell me how you've changed.
Well, I take responsibilities for all my actions. God has been in my life. I have got with positive people to where I can think positive, do more constructive things, and take responsibility for my own actions.
Now, you've taken substance abuse, I believe. What other programs have you taken with reference to your drug addiction?
I took Thank You for a Chance, substance abuse, 100 hours pre-release, Raging Cajun. Yes.
Cajun Rage.
Cajun Rage.
Got you. I understood. It's all right. I went to USL, so I know what a Raging Cajun is.
And you know, I must say through my experience with my medical condition, and you know, God gave me another chance because I died twice.
We're going to talk about your medical condition in just a few moments. You've had 209 write-ups while you've been in prison. Have any of those involved intoxication?
One time, sir.
And when was that?
It's when I was in DCI. I think
How long ago?
Yeah, it was like I think around 2001, 2002.
What is your sobriety plan? What can we both agree that you're a drug addict?
Yes, sir.
So what is your plan to make sure, and I understand you've got medical issues and I understand that, but what is your plan to make sure that you don't go back to using drugs the way you were using them before?
Well, not just because of my medical condition. God has blessed me to have grandkids and great grandkids, and I want to live for them, sir.
Are you familiar with the 12-step program? You took some
Yes, sir.
substance abuse
I
programs.
took 12 steps. Took 12 steps back in I think around 98, somewhere around up in there, 98, 99.
Have you ever gone to AA meetings?
Of course. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
well, I need to know that. You said back in 98, you took the 12-step. That was 24 years ago, 26 years ago. So have you done anything with AA meetings or anything like that since then?
No, sir, because I've been in and out of the hospital.
Okay. Do you believe that AA meetings are important and helpful for
Of
your
course.
sobriety?
Of course. Of course.
If you were to be released, would you go to AA? Do you think AA is important in your life?
Yes, sir. I believe I can be a great help to other individuals besides myself.
Now, what other courses have you taken that you think have been helpful to you?
Raising Cajun,
Anything else that just stands out, something that you said you took Thinking for a Change?
yes, sir.
What did you get out of that program? Or what do you remember out of that program?
Being responsible for your own actions, having respect for others, what is yourself.
Let's talk a little bit about your medical condition. Tell me about your medical condition.
Well, I done had 10 heart attacks. I have stents. I have COPD, high blood pressure, and my lungs are damaged. I have to have oxygen almost 24/7.
Now, while you've been in prison, you got an obscenity charge. What was that about?
They said I was flirting with the female, which I were.
And that was a conviction. They charged you with that, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
How long was that?
That's, I think that was 2004, 2003, somewhere back there.
And you have 3 children. Do you have any contact with them?
I have contact with one daughter and my granddaughter and my great-grandkids.
Where will you be staying? I see Mr. Myers is here. You're going to the Parole Project. Where will you stay? What's your transition plan? What do you hope to do if you are paroled?
Be productive for society and community.
Where are you gonna live?
Where would you be?
Living in New Orleans, with a car.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Coleman?
Everything that he has told you and that you have spoken of seems to be of the truth of nature, so I really don't have anything to add to it.
You have a low risk assessment, Mr. Coleman. You do have some law enforcement opposition and some victim opposition. I think that's all. Let's hear from your supporters. Mr. Myers?
Yes, good afternoon. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Parole Project is going to support Mr. Coleman's transition. However, based on his medical condition, the severity of his medical condition and his support system, we will do that. He will go to his residence in New Orleans, where he does have family support. Our case manager, who works out of New Orleans, will provide him support. We'll make sure he gets connected to all the services that he needs. He is SSI eligible. We'll make sure we get all his Medicaid so he can get his oxygen, smooth transition into making sure he gets his oxygen requirements because he's going to need that on a long-term daily basis. We will transport him back and forth to Baton Rouge for the programming that's relevant to him. And again, continue to provide case management in the New Orleans area.
Thank you very much, Mr. Myers. Mr. Coleman, is there anything you'd like to say before we turn it over to Mr. Lancaster and Ms. McRae?
Well, yes, sir. I would like to thank, foremost, I would like to thank God and thank you all for giving me an opportunity to be presented in front of the board.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Lancaster?
Good afternoon, Robert Lancaster here today representing Burnell Coleman with the LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic. With me today is Diamond McRae. She's a second-year law student at the LSU Law Center. She's not certified under Louisiana Supreme Court Rule 20. She did help Mr. Coleman prepare for today's hearing. Also worked and prepared the brief and packet that was submitted to the committee in advance. If the committee deems it appropriate, Ms. Diamond is prepared to make a final statement of support.
Okay, Ms. McRae?
Thank you. Members of the committee, there is nothing that can undo this senseless act that Mr. Coleman committed or undo the pain that his actions caused the victim and her family. He lives with regret and remorse every day of his life. Mr. Coleman's childhood and early adulthood were plagued by crime and poverty. As Mr. Coleman grew older, he grew more bitter as he tried to find his way, and he admits that he took the cowardly way to handle his problems. The past 38 years have been a humbling experience for Mr. Coleman. He began his sentence as a healthy, strong-willed man who felt like the world owed him something. Today, he sits before you as a respectful, frail man with extensive health issues that have him confined to a wheelchair and requires him to use supplemented oxygen 24/7. Mr. Coleman has participated in some programming over the years, but was never able to take full advantage of it because he has battled his health for 26 years. Since being incarcerated, he has had his gallbladder removed, 2 hip replacements, and has been hospitalized for over 10 heart attacks. He is currently prescribed 6 different medications that he is required to take daily. Mr. Coleman is also on a strict low sodium diet and sometimes requires breathing treatments throughout the course of the day. Mr. Coleman has grown far away from the young, bitter man who committed these crimes. He often says he didn't change by himself, but God changed him. The man before you today is not a reflection of the person he was in 1986. Given his health issues and his older age, Mr. Coleman has not only naturally matured out of crime, but he is now a man rooted in humility. He has a holistic reentry plan with the full support of the Parole Project and his family, who is committed to ensuring that he maintains his sobriety. For these reasons, I respectfully ask you all to vote in favor of granting Mr. Coleman early release through parole with any conditions you all seem appropriate. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. McRae. Board ready to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman, I enjoyed talking with you. I accept the message you have on your shirt. I believe that you have changed. You've imprisoned for 36 years. You've taken some programs, but you've come a long way while you've been in there. Based upon your low risk, based upon some of your medical issues, based upon the things that you've done while you've been in prison. And you have a good transition plan through the Louisiana Parole Project. My vote would be to grant your parole to the Louisiana Parole Project to be supervised and work with the Louisiana Parole Project, follow whatever rules they set up for you. And I would want you to get a substance abuse evaluation, follow whatever treatment is required and necessary. And I would order at least 2 AA meetings per week for the first 6 months. If the evaluator or your parole supervisor determines that that's not necessary anymore, then that can be changed. At least for the first 6 months, I want you to get out there and go to at least 2 AA meetings per week. That's my vote. I'm only one of 3 votes. Mr. Roche?
Mr. Coleman, my vote is the same for the same reasons: length of incarceration, long-term mental issues, and we'll add one condition that you have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Roche.
Thank you.
Jackson?
Thank you.
Right. Ms. Coleman, I concur with my colleagues. My vote is to grant for the same reasons.
Thank you.
Coleman, you have 3 votes to grant your parole. Your parole has been granted today to the Louisiana Parole Project with the conditions that we outlined. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.